What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to turn your Makako into a back handspring. Back handspring is a very important move. It's a very fundamental basic that by understanding this move, you'll understand a lot of other moves in tricking, and it'll really help you build your foundation from the ground up. It's a lot easier than you think, so don't be too worried when going into it. Now, let's start with the prerequisites. The only prerequisites you'll need for this is very obviously the Makako. If you know how to Makako, you'll be able to, follow along with this tutorial and get a back handspring fairly easily. Now, I don't mean being able to do just like one Makako and getting to your feet. I mean being able to do a good Makako, a really good Makako. And the way you'll know whether you have a good Makako or not is whether you'll be able to do 2 in a row or 3 in a row, and if you can stay in a straight line all the while doing it. This is a good way to assess whether your Makako is ready or not to be taken to the next level, because you need a certain level of comfortability with the move, and you need a certain level of, functionality with the move to be able to do 3 in a row and stay in a straight line. Let's talk back handspring. Before we get into this, I want you guys to warm your wrists up. It's very important, especially because you're going to be jumping into this move almost, and your wrists are going to take a lot of impact in the beginning. So just start with some light exercises, pressing against the ground, pressing back against the ground, doing circles, etc., warming up your wrists to be able to handle this kind of impact. Now, let's start turning our Makako into a back handspring. First off, you want to start low. Just like in your Makako, back handspring you can kind of work up towards in a low kind of crouch position. You don't need to do from standing yet. And now what I want you guys to think about it is when you're trying to do your Makako, try and think about putting your hands down at the same time. Initially, normally Makako would be done one hand at a time, and I would start with my right hand, then put my left hand down because I am a right twister. If you're a left twister, just kind of mirror the opposite way because that should be your more comfortable side. So we can do this by pretending to hold our first hand back. Instead of putting it down immediately, we are going to leave it kind of hovering above the air and putting it down at the same time as our second hand, almost by like jumping into the movement. It's very important that you kind of do give it like a little jump, or else you're not going to get like the momentum naturally, you know what I mean? Initially, it's okay to go over the side. Don't worry about going straight over, straight inverted. Right now, we're turning our Makako into back handspring, so it's okay to be slightly off axis, off linear. This is tricking. When you get used to putting your hands down at the same time, gradually start jumping a little more and more and giving yourself a little more juice into the Makako. It's also important to start standing up a little bit, not necessarily crouching. And yeah, over the course of the progression of this movement, and as you do it more and more, you'll realize that what you kind of have now is already like a shitty back handspring. It's a back handspring technically, but it's not a great one, because it's over the side and all that stuff, but it's a back handspring. Let's just call it that for now. So jumping into your Makako, putting your hands down at the same time, taking the baby steps, going up and up, gradually getting more and more, momentum into it is going to get you effectively a back handspring, but it's not going to be a good one. How do we get a good back handspring? Next up, to improve your back handspring, you're going to want to do a couple of things. First thing you want to do is you want to practice your squat jump or your set jump. If you know how to backflip, this is the exact same squat jump you would do. Roll your arms back, get into a squat position, and as your arms go up, reaching near your ears, you're just going to jump straight up. And that is essentially the entrance or the starting point towards a back handspring. We want to apply this to our Makako because our Makako doesn't usually use this kind of form. But it's a back handspring now, so we got to treat it like one. So you're going to slowly wean yourself into doing this. Start with that squat jump setup, and then just jump into your Makako like you would normally from the steps we talked about earlier. And that's going to slightly make your back handspring better. Now, get comfortable with this, get used to this, because it's very important to get used to this setup. Because next up, what you're going to do is you're going to try and make it more inverted and more linear. And the way we do this is actually, instead of reaching around with our arms, like we're kind of used to doing, we want to reach up with our arms, keeping our arms next to our ears. That is the most important thing. A lot of people when they do their set jump, they do their squat jump, their arms don't actually reach up next to their ears, then that doesn't give them enough momentum going into back handspring, backflip, etc. because their arms stop early. So when you're reaching, make sure you reach all the way towards your ears, maybe even think a little farther just in case so you get that far, you know what I mean? And then we're just gonna do the same thing. Apply that to our back handspring and you'll notice the difference. It's going to make it slightly better. Next up, what I would recommend is to start looking in between your hands. If you're comfortable enough to make edits to this movement, it's not going to feel scary or, you know, whatever. If it is scary, just retrace your steps, do the steps all over again, work on your macaca more, etc., and you'll get more comfortable with the movement. But if you look in between your hands, it's going to have you spot the right way. Because back handsprings are different than backflips. Your head should not be positioned straight forward or even down even. They should be looking up through your hands. Next up, and probably the most important tip I can give you guys, is to pretend as if you were falling in a chair. So if you think about it, sitting in a chair or like a squat position is your starting point for the back handspring. Now, to get the most momentum, we have to use gravity to pull us in the movement. And the only way to do this is to pretend as if we were falling, like someone took the chair out from under you, and hang on to that motion for the longest time we can before jumping into the back handspring. And that's how we take advantage of using gravity to our advantage to pull us into a really good back handspring. Another recommendation I would give you guys is to keep your feet together. A lot of people keep their feet apart when they're first starting back handsprings. It just looks ugly, the form is all over the place, and you're losing a lot of like power and momentum left and right. So keep your feet together, it'll just make things easier for you. Once you've got that, just drill your back handspring over and over again. Think about the tips I've given you and try and chain multiple back handsprings. That'll help your back handsprings improve a lot as well. So yeah, that is it. That's how you turn your macaco into a back handspring. This was the route I've taken, and it has, you know, opened the doorway for a lot of different flips and movements for me. If this video helped, if you like this video, please do like and subscribe, because I'll be making more tutorials from now on, and I hope to see you guys there. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye.